Hello, and welcome to Career Connection Chat, where you state the career and we make the connection. As always, I'm your host, Seth Lawrence, Delaware Military Academy class of 2022. Love saying that. And welcome to Season 1, Military Careers and Life. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 1, Military Life and Careers, Episode 4. In this episode, we will cover the world of being a senior enlisted leader, more specifically, a senior enlisted leader of the United States Service Branch. Today with us, we have the 8th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, Vince Patton. And I would be remiss if I did not also mention that Master Chief Patton is also the first African American to be appointed to that rank and position. Master Chief Patton enlisted in the U.S. Coast Guard in 1972. Patton became the first African American selected as the service's senior most enlisted ranking position as the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard in 1998. His career included staff and operational assignments both afloat and ashore throughout the United States, and a joint military service assignment in Cuba and Haiti. Patton served as the 8th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard from May 1998 to October 2002. As the service's top senior enlisted leader and ombudsman, he was a principal advisor to the Commandant of the Coast Guard, his directorate, and the Secretary of Transportation and Defense. All of Master Chief Petty Officer Patton's college education was earned while on active duty. He received his Doctor of Education degree in 1984 from the American University in Washington, D.C. His dissertation was based on the development and implementation of the Coast Guard's enlistment and evaluation system. He earned a master's degree in counseling psychology from Loyola University in Chicago, Illinois, a Bachelor of Science degree in social work from Shaw College at Detroit, Michigan, and a Bachelor of Arts degree in communication from Pacific College in Angwin, California. He is a graduate of the U.S. Coast Guard Chief Petty Officer Academy and the U.S. Army Sergeant Major's Academy, with distinction, and the Department of Defense's Equal Opportunity Management Institute. His numerous military awards include the Distinguished Service Medal, 2 Meritorious Service Medals, 3 Coast Guard Commendation Medals, 3 Coast Guard Achievement Medals, the Commandant's Letter of Commendation Ribbon, 8 Meritorious Team Awards, and 9 Coast Guard Door Conduct Awards. He has also earned the Cutterman's Insignia and has completed 10 jumps with the U.S. Army 82nd Airborne Division to earn the coveted Parachutist Wings Specialty Badge. Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard Patton retired after 30 years of active duty in November 2002. He is also a member of the Pinnacle Five group that comprises of the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack Tilley, 14th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Alfred McMichael, the 9th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, Jim Hurt, and the 13th Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Jim Finch. This group serves to give back to their fellow servicemen and women. Ladies and gentlemen, back to Season 1. With me today is the 8th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, Vince Patton. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Seth. Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. We're really excited to have you. Let's just roll off with the first question. Can you explain who you are and give a little background to how you got to where you are now?
Well, okay, a little bit about myself. Vince Patton. I retired in 2002 as the 8th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard. Served 30 years in the U.S. Coast Guard and had a fantastic career. Starting out my Coast Guard career as a radioman or in the world of communications. And I worked my way up through the chain, and then I moved over into personnel administration, moved on into working into command leadership level positions. Also had a joint service assignment, one of the first enlisted people to serve in a joint service senior level assignment. And I was senior enlisted advisor to Joint Task Force 160, which was a military operation called Operation Able Manner, Able Vigil, and then they later changed to Support Democracy. And this was an operation that was down in Haiti as well as in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. And I worked with all of the other services involved as the senior ranking enlisted person we had roughly 36,000 military people involved in those operations during that particular time. And of course, becoming Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, which was my desired goal, of what I wanted to do. And from boot camp, I made a decision in boot camp from looking at the picture of the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard at that time. In fact, he was the first Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, because when I came in, the position was very new. And there was nothing written about it in our Blue Jackets manual. So I inquired about who he was. And then after finding out who he was, then I said, that's what I want to do. And I stuck with it. And that, again, and that was my desired goal. And it was a very hard goal to achieve, because only one person gets to become the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, just like the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy or the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps and so forth in the services. Only one person gets that for a particular period of time. So to make that proclamation, that's what I wanted to do. It was not just hard work, but a little bit of luck. But most importantly, I stuck to my my goal. I stuck to my desired focused things of what I want to do, and it's something that they just don't give to you. The way you work for it is you work very hard at what you're doing. So that's how I got to where I am now. After retirement, I'm off into the business world, and I'm currently Senior Vice President for Leadership Development for a company called New Day USA, which is a mortgage company. And I focus on our 700 employees leadership development training, helping those folks to help to progress up the scale in the company and so forth. So it's a fun job. It's also a little bit about what I did when I was on active duty too. So that's what I'm doing now.
Amazing, awesome stuff. Now, you mentioned New Day, and that's kind of how I found out who you were and more information about you. But you also are you co-work with the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack Tilley, 9th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, Jim Hurt, 14th Sergeant Major Marine Corps, Al McMichael, 13th Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Jim Finch, and I believe you guys call yourself the Pinnacle Five, and I love that name. Absolutely love that name. It's like, I think it's like a killer military group name. It's almost like a rock band. I love it.
We jokingly say that we're a rock band, when people ask, well, what does Pinnacle Five mean? And so these gentlemen are the guys that I served with during my tenure as Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, and you named them all perfectly in both their positions and so forth. And we just kind of, stuck together like glue, as does all of the folks that get up into our level in our position. You got to work together, because you do congressional testimonies, as well as oftentimes you travel together with the Secretary of Defense, as well as with the President of the United States. We had the opportunity to do that a few times. So we got to work very, very close together. And after we retired, and we didn't retire exactly the same time, but right about the time when we all retired, we said, hey, let's keep the band together. So the band plays on as we work at New Day USA.
Yeah, I feel like that's amazing that you formed such a tight bond, because you don't see that with not even really the current the senior listed leaders or the ones before you. So I think that's really cool that you guys keep in contact with each other and stuff. And
I think it was very unique for us, because you're right. None of our predecessors or successors have formed the kind of bond that we've had, and I'm not mean to sound disparaging to them and so forth, but I just think that we just sort of gelled very tightly, to the point that and we shared a lot of successes, both within our service as well as collectively for all of our service, that we just felt that we had something very special going on between the five of us. And like I said, we didn't want to break up the band.
Right, I think that's amazing. And now, what characteristics do you think would make a good person to be, well, one in the Coast Guard, but also the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard?
Well, that's a good question. What characteristics that make up to be a good person in any career field is, first and foremost, is that you've got to establish your personal core values. Now, we know the Navy core values are honor, courage, commitment. The Coast Guard core values are honor, respect, devotion to duty, as well as, and the Marine Corps is honor, courage, commitment, and so forth. But those are organizational core values. And what that really turns out is it's a condition of employment. The organization says, look, in order to be effective in this organization, that what we demand out of you is honor, courage, and commitment. And then there's definitions within that. So now the next question is, what characteristics do you personally have to be able to match that organizational requirement? So we all have personal core values. Sometimes we don't sit down and think about them, but we all have them. What I would say to the viewers here is think about, what are your personal core values? You know, like I said, think about it. What are the most important things to you that helps you? What makes you tick? You know, for me, I've got 3 words to start with the letter P. And not that I sat down and wanted to come up with a catchy phrase, it just turned out that way. For me, it's people, passion, performance. And why those 3 came about is over the course of my career, as I started looking at what I wanted to do. And I remember I told you I was in boot camp when I said I wanted to be Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard. Then how do you get there? You know, and the fact is, when you get there, what do you plan to do? So over the course of my career, I began to embrace different areas of what I felt that was very important. For example, people. Okay, we all know that people it's our greatest assets. But most importantly, to get to where you have to go, it takes people. It takes a mentor. It takes embracing someone who is going to help you along the way. It takes the opportunity of observing where you see both good and sometimes not so good performance, but you file that away and use that as your element of understanding that. And that's how I came up with people. Passion. Passion, I look at it as a sense of belonging. Enthusiasm. It's that whole thing as to you got to love what you do. And I have this favorite quote that I like to say that best describes passion for me. And it comes from the great Brazilian soccer player Pele, who said that success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, but most of all, love of what you're doing or learning to do. Now, in Pele's own quote, harbors a number of core values within that in itself. And again, when I read that, and I read that quote many, many, many years ago, long before I was even I wasn't even a first-class petty officer when I saw that quote. That was back in 1979 or something like that when I saw that. But I learned that passion was very important because you do have to have that sense of belonging in the organization that you're working for. You've got to understand why you have to embrace those core values in order to be successful. And then my third core value is performance. And performance is just quite simply prepare well so you can perform well. And in performance, that preparing well is preparing well both from a training aspect, preparing as academically in terms of the challenges that you face. In other words, education has been and always have been very important to me. Now, I was just an enlisted guy, and there's a misnomer that most people who go in as enlisted, they're not interested in education. Well, that's not true. Far from it. And I'm a living example of the fact that, you know, I earned all the way up to my doctorate degree as an enlisted person in the Coast Guard. But I approached or even used the word attacked education as something that was prominently important for me to be successful. And again, you could take that and also use Pele's quote as well, because in order to learn and love what you do, it's got to be to learn. And so people, passion, and performance kind of became those characteristics for me that helped make me not just a good person, but it helped strive and kept me on my road to what my success of my career was.
Honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think that's a very catchy phrase that I think a lot of people will remember and recall whenever they're thinking about career choices or whether or not they should stick within a career or whether or not they should even do a career in the first place. So I think that was really pretty great. Now, what was like some of your favorite things to do while you were in the Coast Guard?
Oh my goodness. Gosh, we have to have another talk just to tell you all of the favorite things. And it's kind of hard for me to pick one out, other than the fact that, well, first was my decision of going into the Coast Guard had everything to do with, I was excited about the Coast Guard's mission, the saving of life and property, protecting people and as well as the environment. And it was just all of these amazing things that the service involvement was all about, and I got to be part of that. And so my favorite things that I did was that at the end of the day, even if my day was somewhat not too thrilling, back in my radioman days, where I stood watches, sending and receiving messages and keeping track of things, I didn't get a SOS call every day. But often before the week was out, I handled several search and rescue cases, and those were my favorite things of what I did. And as I matured along in the Coast Guard, the favorite things began to be with working with people and helping them with their development. So it's kind of a two-prong approach about favorite things for me. Was favorite things as it related to my service, the Coast Guard, and favorite things that are related to the people of my service in the Coast Guard. So that helping and working with people was something that I thoroughly enjoyed, and even continue doing this today. Even in retirement, I still work with a number of active duty Coast Guard members, as well as reserve members and retired members as well.
That's amazing. Now, but I have to ask, were there any things that you didn't like to do while you were in the Coast Guard?
Well, no one likes to have a 4-hour watch and then you can't go to bed because you got something else to do, and then next thing you know, you got another 4-hour watch coming on. And I tell you, back in my earlier career, particularly on ship, it was 4 on, 4 off, 4 on, 4 off, and went like that. And although I think about it today, that how could I have been so amazingly alert and accurate? And I think a lot of that had to do with just the excitement of the job itself. But it was not my favorite thing to do. I'll be honest and say that I never approached any of my watches with I can't wait to get on and go do it, because you're just dead tired, But beyond that, the other least favorite things was as I looked at the search and rescue cases that I was involved in, that either as a coordinator or running the message traffic and so forth, was the outcome. And of course, not everybody can be saved. And as the radioman on the watch at times, I was the bearer of the bad news in terms of if something didn't go right, of relaying that information to my watch officer, or even being involved with relaying that information to the families and so forth. And it was not definitely not a fun thing to do. And it even to this day, I mean, this has been many years later. I still get occasional flashbacks of situations that had occurred and how it was handled, and remembering those words of saying certain things to family members and so forth, that their son, their daughter, their husband, wife, whoever, did not make it. So those are some of the things that I, even like I say, even to this day, still struggle with and remembering those.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than losing a brother or sister in arms, or even just losing anyone in the world. Really, it's not something that you forget. And we appreciate your service, and we appreciate what you do, most definitely. But absolutely, it's something that can hurt. It's something that can definitely pain someone to do and to witness. Now, a lot of people in our view may not know much about the Coast Guard or what the Coast Guard does. Now, but they do watch movies and they do watch TV shows. So I got to ask, are there any military movies or Coast Guard movies out there that our viewers should watch to get a good depiction of what it is?
Absolutely. And my absolute favorite all time. I will watch it a bazillion times and still will not get tired of it. Is the I think the movie came out in 2016 or so, called The Finest Hours. It's the story of a Coast Guard rescue team out of Station Chatham, Massachusetts, that went out to rescue crew members on a freighter that broke in half that off the coast of Cape Cod. And this took place in 1952. It's a true story, very true story. In fact, this very story, although the movie didn't exist when I came in the Coast Guard, I read about it. That's how I got in the Coast Guard. Because when I walked into the recruiting office and they had the story with a picture hanging next to it, I read it and then I said, wow. And then my recruiter looked at me and said, I guarantee you'll do something like that in your first 4 years in the Coast Guard. And that's how I joined the Coast Guard. But The Finest Hours is a fantastic movie. It is pretty much true to form. I mean, there's a little bit of Hollywood in it because they had to put some kind of more of the personal touch of the people who played the characters in the movie and so forth. But as far as the rescue itself, it was spot on, 100% accurate. And if you haven't watched it, and I urge people to watch it, you're going to watch and say, that couldn't have happened. And not to give you a spoiler alert, I'll just tell you, you got to watch the movie. But it's one of those things that as you watch that movie, as a Coast Guardsman, you stand up feeling even more proud and recognizing that in our core values of honor, respect, and devotion to duty, they all came alive. And of course, this all took place 70 years ago. So it's just the best movie that I will always recommend to anybody that has any interest or knowledge of wanting to know a little knowledge of the Coast Guard. Watch it.
I mean, absolutely. I know our current senior instructor, Chief Warrant Officer Rush. Yeah, I saw the movie on his desk. I think he showed his class the movie. So I think a couple of our cadets saw the movie so far, and I think I'm probably gonna pop on Netflix or HBO Max or whatever and check it out, because I think I did see it on one of those softwares. So that gives me something to watch over the weekend, and I'll definitely get back to you and I'll tell you what I think about it.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that he showed it to the class, and no surprise, every Coastie who's seen it, that we hawked that movie like we were the producers. But it's a great movie.
Absolutely. And now this show is about connecting people with with potential mentors and connecting people with basically making a career connection. Now, who was one of your mentors and what was like the best lesson they taught you?
Well, of course, again, I've had plenty of mentors. My absolute best mentor that I could give you an example to. In fact, give me one quick second. I gotta walk over to my shelf because I gotta show you my mentor. If you can see in this picture right here, this is my brother Greg. He's 8 years older than me, and as you can tell, I don't think you see the stripes there, but he retired as a captain in the Navy. I was going to join the Navy because of my brother Greg. And of course, it's a different story what happened. I ended up in the Coast Guard. Like I said, I saw that story and I said, Coast Guard, I go. But my brother Greg, because of our age difference, it was a lot easier for me in looking up to him. He did just a lot of amazing things, particularly as I paid more attention in his teenage years and seeing how successful he was becoming, both how well he was doing in school, the things he did in school, and then, so I emulated him in a lot of ways. He went off to it didn't have that name back then, but it's sort of like a magnet science technology school. And there's only one school in Detroit that you had to compete to get into, pretty much like how Delaware Military Academy is. You got to compete to get into it. Well, to get into it, and from your grade school, middle school, you got to do good. You got to do good. You got to do really good. So I was driven to go to Cass Technical High School because of my brother Greg. And I was driven to do a number of things. You know, he became an Eagle Scout. I became an Eagle Scout. Now, of course, he went in the Navy, but, you know, I went in the Coast Guard, but nonetheless, we both made careers and so forth. But he stands today as my ultimate mentor, even to this day. As we are in our older years, he's in his 70s, I'm in my 60s, but we still very close, and as much as he still mentors his little brother as well. But he stands as the best person. And what he taught me was, you know, we were from a big family. There were 10 kids. I'm the 5th child, 3rd boy. And so we didn't, you know, in a sense of a large family, and you know, and we were in the lower income range type, you know, so not a lot was available for us to do things, but we made the best of it. And as I saw how my brother took those challenges and made those challenges opportunities, that's what I wanted to do. Because, you know, he worked, I worked. He wanted to get into Cass Technical High School, which you know, back in those days, I mean, the school still exists today. Even then, you know, you were going to be the ultimate nerd to get into that particular school, and kids laughed at you and called you names and so forth. But that's what he wanted to do, and that's what I wanted to do. So I learned about resiliency. I learned an awful lot about how to deal with and face and focus with challenges. And you know, so those were the lessons that were taught to me. And you know, and let's face it, when I was in boot camp, 2 weeks into boot camp, I said I want to be Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard. The things that my brother taught me to help, that got me to where I am, those same characteristics, those same lessons, is what I carried on to get me through today.
Wow, and it's crazy because, like, this is someone you grew up with. This is somebody that you knew for pretty much your entire life. And I think it's important for our viewers to know that your mentor could be somebody that sleeps right down the hallway from you. It doesn't have to be someone who lives across the state or someone you randomly meet in your career. It can start right in your household with your mom, your dad, and your siblings, your older siblings, or even your younger siblings could be your mentors, teaching you things about becoming a capable and strong woman and man, and whether that was in the military or if that's in the civilian field. I think that's a pretty interesting and a good philosophy for our viewers.
And I think the most important thing out of that is that we ended up not doing the same things later. I mean, I did a lot of things he did. And, you know, and I think for one side of it, looking at it from divine intervention and providence, was going into the Coast Guard versus going into the Navy was a good thing for me, in the sense of that I was able to start walking on my own. But I had the confidence of what my brother taught me that helped me to proceed on to be able to step out on my own to do things. So the other part of the mentor part is that the mentor doesn't necessarily have to be exactly like you or do whatever you're doing. You know, in fact, it's probably just as well to have a mentor that may not even have any real connection to what you do, because they're a great sounding board to help you through things.
Absolutely. And while we're showing things, I wanted to show that I keep a challenge coins of all my mentors. You got Major General Vavila, who's on here. I have yours.
All right.
Coast Guard, and I have Master Chief Hurt, MCPOCG Hurt. I keep them all in my wallet as a remembrance of those who helped me get to where I am. And I think it's and I definitely consider you one of my mentors, and someone who definitely helped me, especially make my decisions as far as the Naval Academy and as far as where I want to go for college. So I want to thank you for that. I think mentors and having a mentor relationship, especially at this critical age between 17 and 21, in that area where you're developing both mentally, physically, and like literally and socially, and having someone that can help you get through troubling times, where situations where you might not know what to do, but you know someone who's been through those or something similar who can help you make the right decision. I think it's very important. I think it's something I wish a lot of people my age would have the ability to relate to. Now, is there anything that you would like to say to our viewers? Any words of advice to those looking out there and just wondering, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do as far as career. I don't know what to do as far as life.
Well, yeah, and I think I said a little bit earlier about personal core values. You'd be amazed that once you wrestle down what your personal core values are, that how far it can help you and how far it can take, how it can be a wonderful roadmap to your own future successes. And and I would say a good homework assignment for your viewers is to sit down and think about it. And these are things that you may change along the way and so forth, but ask yourself, what are my personal core values and how do they relate with what I want to do? And that's very important. So hang on to that. Personal core values, very important. The other thing is imagination. And I talk about imagination because a good part of my success was because of imagination. 2 weeks into the Coast Guard, I see the picture of the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard. My imagination was, I stared at that picture to the point that I saw me in that picture. And I saw me in that picture to the point that this wasn't as much as an ego thing, that I wanted to get to that level because it's a pretty cool high level position to get to. I wanted to get to that position because as I learned what that position was all about, how I felt it best suited me in terms of helping others. Imagination, keep that in mind. And like I said, when I came into the recruiting office and I read this story about this amazing rescue the Coast Guard had done, imagination said to me that you could be doing that too. As my recruiter said, I eventually would be doing, and guess what? He was absolutely right. I mean, nothing to the amazing extent as what's brought up in that book, but nonetheless, exposure of that particular type of environment to do that. So when you have imagination and you have personal core values, you'd be amazed at how much you can do and how far you can go.
Absolutely. I think most of the problem with people and our viewers are that they can't picture themselves in places like that. They can't picture themselves in high careers like that because they just, either it's a confidence issue or it's I no one I really know has done it, or really no one I can see has done it. And I think imagination and just saying, yeah, I can do that, and having that perseverance and being like, I'm going to be the Master Petty Officer of the Coast Guard. I'm going to be the Sergeant Major of the Army. I'm going to be the Commandant of the Marine Corps. I'm going to be these things. I think that's an important to have that I will attitude. I think is a very important philosophy. Now, Master Chief, I feel bad because I forgot to say your full title. Your Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, Dr. Vince Patton. I forgot to put that doctor in there, and I think that's pretty awesome that you have so many titles and so many accolades to your name. And I think that's sheer motivation for me to try. And I forgot to mention that not only are you the 8th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, but you're the first African American to hold that position. I think that's beyond amazing. I think that's beyond exemplary, and I think that's truly motivating to me. I think that's truly motivating to a lot of people to see, well, yourself and Sergeant Major McMichael being in those positions. I think that gives hope to young minorities like myself that it can be done. It can be done. You can reach the Pentagon. You can reach senior positions like that. So thank you for being an inspiration to so many people.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, well, this is Master Chief Patton. If you have any questions, you can email them at the email below. Next up, we're going to start a new season on the legal profession, season 4. Stay tuned for that. Very exciting. Again, thanks for watching Career Connection Chats. I hope you learned something great. I hope you learned something you want to teach other people. And if you want to be on our show, please email us at careerconnectionchats@gmail.com. And if you want to ask our guest speaker your own questions, please email at the email posted below. To see more, please visit our YouTube channel and share what you've learned.